Thanks, Manu. Sorry about that, everybody. Yes, so we are the Political Economy Working Group. Manu and I chair the group together, but with really strong and consistent input from a great group of folks. Manu, if you'll go to the next slide.
1 second. Okay. Here.
There we go. So this is some pictures of our frequent contributors. As you can see, we have a really great group, many of whom are on this call, and we appreciate you all very much. You can also see at the top our geographical distribution. We are actively welcoming new members. So if folks have suggestions for people particularly not geographically represented on our map, we'd sure appreciate it. We'd love to continue to open the group to other folks who have an interest in a political economic perspective on sustainable systems of production and consumption. Okay, I think that's it for that slide.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So very quickly about the kind of the perspective that guides our work. Clearly, the name is in the name of the group. It's Political Economy Working Group. So there is a political economy orientation to how we look at these things. And what that really means is we are trying to approach questions of production and consumption from keeping ideas of power, keeping ideas of interests, and so forth, as being influential factors in how production consumption systems proceed. So so it's not a econometric or a techno-economic perspective, clearly, right? So that is very much part of our orientation. Where is this coming from? This orientation is coming from, shall we say, a certain amount of skepticism with regards to ecological modernization. So that's an important aspect. And also a realization, I guess, the group has kind of grown into. We've been together, the group has been together for about 3 years. And I think as we've interacted and worked, I think we've tried to articulate this idea about how injustice in some ways enables unsustainability. So that's an orientation that I think is increasingly shaping up in our work. What do we do about it? Certainly a pursuit of justice seems to be essential. If injustice enables unsustainability, a pursuit of justice would become critical. And this is across spatial geographies. And again, the question about how we would pursue a course like that, it would certainly involve building bridges between academia and activists and policy, people in the policy world and so forth. So it cannot be, certainly cannot be a siloed approach. So I think that process of co-production, I guess, of knowledge and action is really this big new thing. And as we speak, I guess we are trying to grapple with that, right? And I think, yeah, Cindy?
So thus far, we have, for the better part of the time we've been together, had managed to maintain monthly meetings. Not during every block, but recently we've been on quite a roll, so that's great. We started, like other groups, with a scoping paper that, of course, you can find on the Future Earth website. We also turned that recently into a research synthesis and action agenda that has been now published in Resources Conservation and Recycling, where we really outline our approach and the approach that we hope to take to the study of a political economy of sustainable systems of production and consumption, and invite others to join us. We've also produced a policy brief on the Paris Agreement and why that will require a reduction in overall consumption and production, which has received quite a lot of traction, actually, some really nice citations. And we have embarked just more recently on a webinar series that we've had our first webinar, and we have our second one scheduled upcoming. That's it for that slide. So I guess I'll go ahead and continue with the webinar. Since we're on it, I wanted to let everyone know that we do have our next webinar scheduled. And I will post some information in the chat when I'm done speaking, and hope that many of you can join us. We've also begun a series of policy briefs. So to really build upon the action component of a knowledge to action network, our hope was that we could produce short, 2 to 3 page max policy briefs that could be inserted in relevant public debate. So right now we're targeting some of the discussions around SDG 12.2, as well as the discussions in the European Commission about how we measure absolute reductions in consumption, and whether that requires, what types of footprint indicators that should require. So we're working on that right now, which is really exciting, and hope to get that out to several of our partners this week, actually. Another idea that we're working on is the convening of workshops. So we do, as Manu just said, take the co-production of knowledge very seriously. So our hope is that we can begin, particularly in a post-pandemic world, to convene workshops to bring together actors in various realms to think about not only the problems that we're facing, but also what some relevant solutions would be that do focus in on the role of production consumption. And I'll turn it over back to Manu now.
Thank you, Cindy. And then there are two kind of, I guess, emerging themes that, again, we're trying to formulate. One is certainly conversations around production consumption in a developing country context. And this becomes, I guess, interesting since we take a strong sustainability approach to this. And in context, certainly in developing countries, I guess the questioning of growth or the interrogation of growth is perhaps viewed with greater skepticism. Not that it isn't elsewhere, but perhaps a degree higher. So how do you talk about these things in this context? So that's one area that we wish to work on. So certainly, certainly welcome partners and people who like to collaborate on that. And again, a kind of a new area is a kind of a consciousness or an awareness that, again, how would strong sustainability fare in a context, in a global environment where, there's really great power rivalry or great power competition is ascendant, right? So I don't know if degrowth and superpower status can go together, or even regional power statuses can go together, right? So while we certainly think and believe quite with a significant degree of conviction that some amount of interrogation of growth is essential, how does that sit with a world that is, and all of us are aware how it's moving, right? And that's not a new puzzle. It's been around. It's just the players, I guess, the dominant players and the minor players keep changing with different seasons. But that is a puzzle. So that's something we would, again, hope to try to get some more work into. Yeah. And I think that's it. Yeah, from us. We have a few minutes for question and answer, right?
Thank you so much, Cindy and Manu, and also for your perfect timekeeping. It was exactly 10 minutes, so thank you so much. If there are any immediate questions for clarification or something like that, we have a few minutes for that, but we can also have more kind of deeper questions and discussions at the end. But are there any immediate questions for clarification? No, I don't think there is, but I'm sure that there can be a lot to discuss in our final session. Thank you again so much for this great presentation.